press on from where we stopped last week. Last week, we've been discussing the mind of Christ. We've looked at the mind of Christ in his journey from heaven to earth. We've looked at why God has to prepare a body for him. We've seen the journey, his conception through Mary. We've seen all the various things involved. We've seen Jesus in his early childhood and all the difficulties he was faced with and worked hard to make sure he navigated through the thick and thin because he had a mind that he was presenting and portraying. Then we've seen Jesus in his early youthful stage, intentionally preferring and making it clear that he will be in the house of his Father. He wanted his earthly parents to know that he had a responsibility. At age 12, we saw him making that very clear in the temple. But we now saw Jesus making journey to the point of baptism. And what baptism really is, as touching the mind of Christ, is not something to be dismissed, thrown away, or be ignored. He will like us to also understand that plays a very significant role, and that is transforming physical events into real spiritual experiences. Then from that, we saw he was moved by the Holy Spirit to declare his public ministry. Now we saw his mind in his manifesto, and we took time to look at that and now move a little bit forward. Actually, after the temptation. Now, when we came to chapter 5, where we have been, now Jesus has been doing all these things without anybody involvement. He has never invited anyone. Now he has gone through all this trying to show people how to be, how to live, what it means to be a true human being and the real person that God wanted us to be. But he knew that, sincerely speaking, for us to develop his mind, it's not possible to do it randomly. So as soon as we enter chapter 5, when Jesus was about to start ministry, the focus of ministry was to make us develop his mindset. And to do that, from verse 1, his instrument of achieving men or transforming men to have his kind of mindset was through discipleship. You see that from verse 1 quickly. For him to start at all, for him to have any reason to reveal his public ministry to anybody, to change man, to make man, to influence man, very verse 1, you will see clearly the journey was he called people. He started calling people to himself. Why? Because you don't develop a mind of a person, train a person, equip a person, or make a person have your mind and thought just afar. Jesus didn't want to achieve that. So we then decided to start looking what it means to have the mind of Christ and how to have it. So the reading of last week was very important. But this week, we will look at that very clearly. We quickly run through a few things last week about discipleship. Briefly, we have not picked that topic fully, but we just introduce it in that context. Now, I want us today to deal with that chapter as a method of study again. You see now, I always tell you here, we are not only learning to understand the scriptures, we are learning to study the scripture too. So today, we want to take chapter 5 as chapter 5 and the whole content of chapter 5. And I want us to look at it in the context of Jesus trying to form in men or human his mindset. I want to look at the key pieces of picture stories that Luke decided to put in this chapter 5. So I want us to go there. We have about 5 major stories. Last week you got that paper. Those of you who don't have the paper, I'm sorry. I'll get that. I thought we had more last week, but it seems I left it in the office. You will see there are 5 stories there. The first story is from verse 1 to verses 11, which contains Jesus' call of his disciples. That is Luke chapter 5. If you go there, it will be fantastic. Then the second story is in verse 12 to verse 16, which presents to us Jesus' encounter with leper, and he healed leprosy. Then the second story reveals to us how Jesus encountered a paralyzed or paralytic person, and then he forgave the sin of the person and healed that man. The fourth story reveals to us Jesus calling Levi or Matthew, and how Matthew invited his friends to come and feast with Jesus. Are you with me up to this point? Then we have the next story is the fifth story, which is from verse 33 to verse 39. And what do we have there? The question of fasting. They were asking Jesus, why are disciples of John and the disciples of Pharisees, etc., are fasting, but your own disciples, they are eating and eating, and so on. So, those are the stories you have there. We are going to look at these stories in different ways, and we are going to compare the stories too. And because we want to deal with the whole chapter at once, then we move out of it. We cannot finish exhausting this chapter because of how critical it is. If we miss this chapter, if you come to terms of discipleship, it will be impossible. When you hear it said, if anyone wants to come after me, deny yourself. You just can't understand all those things when you fail this preliminary foundation of this discipleship journey that Luke is packaging. Luke chapter 5. We will look at it quickly, and then we will pick various lessons we want to pick, and then look at various things we need to compare. Then we pray. Is there anybody that wants to read for us very quick the first section of the story? Now, we'll go straight to the exercises, and the first exercise I want to bring before us, how do you organize these stories? Look at those stories quickly. Look at them. How do you organize them? Imagine they were not labeled. You had this text, you have read it, now you've enjoyed the story. How do you organize this chapter quickly to make sense? There should be one story more similar to another, and another similar to the other. And you move them based on similarities close to each other. Can you see something there quickly? Now, this is chapter study now. We are beginning. We've gotten the reading. The normal thing, we should have been asking you to retell the story, but we are going straight to the exercise because we've been reading this chapter from the beginning since last 2 weeks. So we've been reading it. So we just go straight. Yes? Has somebody seen something? Similarities of stories there? Somebody? What? Yes? You want to say something?
Yes, healing.
Healing? Yes. Which story and which story?
First and second.
Yeah. Did you say first and second?
Second and third.
Okay, second and third. So you can group those two stories together under what you call healing. So you can see that very closely. Yes, please. What again? Is somebody saying something? Calling. Yes, calling. Where and where?
The first one, verse 1 to 11.
Yes.
And then he called Levi.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Yes. So you can see calling. Jesus calling. We can see him calling the first two or so, 4 of them. Then the call of Levi or Matthew. Thank you very much. Any other person? You see, you are doing very well.
It's about priority.
You say?
Priority. Jesus taking priority.
Okay.
Life would be instead of material, casual jobs.
Yeah.
He's calling it to importancy.
Absolutely.
Calling people to Jesus.
Thank you very much. Yes. You want to group something?
Legalism and self-righteousness.
Okay. Legalism, self-righteousness. Which story is that?
Pretty much most in the healing of paralytic and in the last two.
Okay. Thank you very much. Any other groupings? Look at it. Yes, sir.
You said
Online, if you want to say something, feel free. Just indicate, we'll call you. Yes, 3, 4, and 5.
Jesus was really interesting about his actions.
Okay. Excellent. Any other person?
3, 1, 5.
3?
Jesus was answering questions.
Did you say 3 and 5?
Well, the 3rd, 4th, and 5th.
Okay, the 3rd, 4th, and 5th. Any other person?
Fulfilling his earthly ministry.
Okay, fulfilling earthly ministry. Which of them? Is there anyone you want to point out?
3, 4, 5.
Okay, 3, 4, 5. Thank you. Excellent.
2,
Yeah.
3, 4, and 5. The Pharisees were questioning him all the time.
Okay, that's where did you see?
2, 3, 4, and 5.
2, 3, 4, and 5 reactions of the Pharisees or whatever to Jesus' ministry. Yes, please.
Miraculous actions 1, 2, and 3.
Okay, miraculous actions 1, 2, and 3, and so on. I know you are beginning to see a lot in that same. We are just talking about groupings now. Just package the story so that it makes sense for you when you read a chapter. The first thing here, you'll be tempted to think, so why did they move the story of Matthew far away, and instead of them put it immediately after the call of the first two, they should bring the story of Matthew so that you just see the call seamlessly flow. Actually, it's still seamlessly flowing, but you have to understand. We'll look at it now. But you can see the callings, the first call, the second call is in the fourth story, but it's in the same chapter. Yeah, so now let us look at that very closely now, very quickly. You can see the first story is about Jesus calling his disciples. Then the fourth story is about Jesus calling his disciple. But actually, it is the response of the cold disciple to Jesus' relationship. How Matthew, having walked with Jesus, we'll come to that, you will see, because when you read the verse 27, look at verse 27. After this, Jesus went out and saw a tax collector by the name Levi sitting at his tax booth. Follow me, Jesus told him. And Levi got up, left everything, and followed him. Now, when you read those two verses, you will think after that, 3 hours later, Matthew did the miracle, organized the banquet. No. Even the idea and the psychology of organizing a banquet at this time will take time. You understand what I mean? It takes time to organize a banquet and invite people. Because friends that you are inviting, they will have to check their availability, you have to go through. Now, actually, this was after a period of time. We'll come to that later. The difference between, the distance between verse 27 and 28, the distance from it to that verse 29 could be more than 6 months, could be 1 year, could be 3 months, could be 2 weeks, could be anything. The reason why they didn't specify timing, we'll come to that too, because the matter of is 10 years, I've been following Jesus, 10 years, I've been following Jesus, 50 years, it's not the matter when it comes to discipleship. It's not number of years. It is a degree of submission and availability and willingness. We'll look at all those things as we journey tonight. But you can see the stress is not on the call of Levi. The stress is on what Levi did after walking with Jesus. And we'll look at that now. So we have the call anyway. The two calls are there. Then we have the second call, the second groupings that we had in the suggestion you have made, the healings of Jesus. And you know what you people say? According to you, the healings of Jesus are in story 2 and story 3. But story 4 does not have healing. And you also mean story 5 does not have healing. Again, you will see that reveals what we think healing is. Are you with me? We think of healing as being healed from physical body only. We are not thinking of healing the mind, the soul, and all those things, right? So we will say healing is only the first 2 stories, number 2 and number 3. But if you want to go forward and think of how being healed either from sin, being healed from whatever itself or emotional or whatever, you are going to see other groups may come in. But again, this is further investigation. We are dealing with the chapter, but you have to first categorize these things together. Now, when you've categorized them together, let's assume we've now decided the calling of the 12 disciples, which is what most of us will say. But actually, this is not the calling of the 12 disciples, just part of the 12 disciples or the apostles. But Luke may as well decide to use this as an example for others. But based on the data or the information we have, dealing with Simon, sons of Zebedee, were the first people. The next one is Matthew, his calling. So let us look at this call. What do you see? Let's go there now quickly. Let me do a very quick fast here. Now let us look at these two stories. They are before you now. Look at the two stories. Let's compare the two stories. What can you make? What are the similarities and what are the dissimilarities? Now let's begin to look at the two stories. You have them before you. If you don't have them, you have them on the stage, on the screen. How do you compare these two stories? This is the call of the first 4 disciples or 2 disciples or Simon. Then the next one on the right is dealing with Levi or Matthew, how he was called. So how do you put them together? Quickly, we just want to do this exercise to prepare us. When we pick a chapter, we should know how to a little bit pay attention. Yes, the normal thing, you take a key verse, which we'll do later. Yes, please. They both left everything. Where do you see that? Verse 11 and verse what?
27.
And verse 27. Did you see it in verse 28 particularly? Did you see 28?
Yeah.
Levi got up, left everything and followed him. Then verse 11, so they pulled their boats up on shore, left everything and followed him. That's very profound. There was no difference. Yes. And it seems until that happened, Jesus didn't recognize their wishing, their desire. Their desire was not enough to be his disciple. And wishing to be Jesus' disciple really is also not enough. And even thinking, I've done my best to give him my boat. He has the boat. He has used the boat to preach. It's enough. Even that is not enough. And you can see they had to leave everything. Yes, what again do you see? Yes, please.
In the first paragraph, it's because they are fishermen. He spoke to them in their language, showing the miracle, fishes, and then said, "Follow me, I will make you fishers of men."
Okay.
So he made their practical need at that time, and then they followed. And here, I believe the text doesn't say, but Levi must be having some hunger to know God more, or to go away from that sinful life that he's living, or squeezing the common people with the taxes. So for them, for him, Jesus says, "Only follow me." And he leaves everything. He's just waiting for that.
Excellent. Now you can see that also is a kind of the similarity too. He spoke to them in their language. And what is the language? The language of felt need. They had a felt need. They are disappointed. They are disgruntled. They are pained. They don't know the way out. And Jesus stepped in when they were desperately in need. And he stepped into their situation, brought a change. And actually, when he did everything very clearly to them, it was obvious they needed to respond to his love. And Peter and co had to respond the way they did. We'll look at that. But here, in the case of Matthew, we don't have a miracle or a sign or a wonder. And here he is trying to say that the felt need of Matthew or Levi may be that he was tired of this job also, or maybe he was hungry to be righteous, desired to be righteous, or maybe whatever it may be. It's not stated in his case. All that Jesus did was inviting him to follow him based on the narrative here. We are trying to focus on the text first. We'll come to other focus, but on the text. Yes, okay, yes, please.
Right. What I see from the first passage looks as if the calling came out of a conviction, because Peter came to the point where he said, "Go away from me, I'm a sinful man." So he had a conviction of his state. And out of that conviction, Jesus now said, "Don't worry, you're going to now catch men." But when it comes to the case of Levi, it looks as if his own was out of understanding or revelation, because somebody can not just come and say, "Follow me," and you get up to follow. It's something that's not happened. It's either he had an understanding or had a revelation at that moment that made him to begin to follow Jesus. So that revelation brings that understanding that he could live all, knowing that this what I'm doing is not comparison, it's not equivalent to what I'm going to gain when I follow this man. So that's what I see the difference between the two.
Good, thank you. So pay attention. It's possible, in his own point, is Matthew had a revelation. And pay attention also to the key point, both of them had an understanding. Whether Jesus performed miracle to help them get to the point of understanding, or he simply spoke and got Levi to the point of understanding, there was an understanding of the value of Jesus to be superior than what they were engaged in. So that level of understanding coming in informed their response to Jesus. Yes, any other person? Yes, Chris.
I just wanted to add, obviously.
Yeah.
Whenever we read this scripture,
those of you online, please feel free. You are free to raise issues. I hope you can hear me today. I'm praying seriously that you are hearing me. Please, if you are hearing, type on your this thing. Just say, yes, it's good. The sound is good. Last week we were in a mess. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Yes, please, Chris.
Yeah, so he had a conversation with Peter. Everything was fine. And then Jesus says the same thing. Every time an angel of God is sent to speak to people, the first sentence that comes out of the angel's mouth is, "Do not be afraid," because we are terrified and afraid when we deal with it. So this is when I think Peter saw something that terrified him, and this is why Jesus comforted him and said the same thing: "Do not be afraid."
Yeah, excellent. So do not be afraid is given to Peter, but we don't have do not be afraid in Matthew. So that's his own comparison. Yes, please. Somebody saying something, table 3. Let me follow table 1, please. Let's start here.
So I also noticed that in both situations, Jesus initiated a conversation. And aside from that, he went to their jobs in both situations.
Okay. So the point he's raising, which is also very profound, is Jesus going out of his way to look for disciples, not disciples looking for him. In this particular period of time, in ancient days, a disciple must go out looking for his discipler or somebody that will make him or he will follow and water and wash his feet. And naturally, in those days, when they go through rabbinical training, after the training, the best student in the school, like theological training, they will pick them. All the rabbis will pick the brightest students, and those who could not cope, they will leave them. And that's all. It's like they are not qualified to function journeying with a rabbi, serving a rabbi. Now, in that case, they are left, they go back home to help their parents or pick the role, what do you call it? The occupation of their parents. Now, but in the case of Jesus, it was not the disciples that went out looking for the master. It was Jesus himself that went out. In both cases, like he is raising, both cases is very clear that Jesus went to where they were. And when he got there, it was not just that he got there and then the people say, excuse me, sir, how are you? Are you here for something? They were not the one that initiated the discussion again. He both went there first and then he also initiated the conversation with them. He started everything. So it was all about Jesus. And that is what you are going to see about discipleship, which is different from mentoring. Mentoring is totally different from discipleship. In mentoring, you have identified a profession, you have achieved to a level, and you discover somebody is superior and excelling above you, and you want the person, you want to understudy the person, you can approach the person, you can engage the person to become his mentee. But when it comes to discipleship, most of the time, the person does not even know that he needs that skill. He does not even know that he's qualified to fit into that. He does not even... So you as a discipler, you are the one seeing potential in the life of the disciple, and you are the one that step out to the person and give him the stretch of the hand. But from that kind of affirmation, that kind of encouragement, that kind of interaction, the person comes closer. But it's even more. It will then, in the context of us as disciples of Jesus, you will say Jesus now is doing evangelism, for example. In our days, it will look like he is now doing evangelism. He went to the seashore doing evangelism, talking to these guys, or he went to the offices of people, interacting in the office. So that is the way you go out fishing, right? But when it came to this situation, this story here that we have, Jesus and these people, like Peter and James, they were not too far from Jesus's community. So somehow they have understanding about Jesus. Somehow they knew Jesus. And it's possible he has been visiting that kind of show for some time. I mean, beach, for you to understand that place is like a beach Jesus went, because it was a seashore. And a seashore today is like a beach where people gather. When the sun is hot, people go near around the water to keep themselves warm. I mean, cool. And Jesus went there. So what we are saying is that Jesus reached out to the people and then invited them to himself, to follow him. Table 3. Yes, Emmanuel?
Definitely, all the people that was recorded that Jesus called in this chapter, they were all busy. They were all doing something.
Okay.
All of them.
Absolutely. So,
Yeah.
they were not idle. Because some of us, we think it is when I have nothing doing, then I'll go follow Jesus. These guys were very intensive, strategic, smart businessmen and hardworking career people. If you look at these guys, to have a ship and a boat for fishing at this time is highly expensive. It's not everybody that owns a boat. Even today, it's not everybody that owns the boat. Then to have nets that were committed to this, it was a big business when it comes to this region. Fish, you need to know fish was a staple food plus bread. Once you have that in a day, wonderful. So here, these guys were engaged in a very strategic business. Okay, they were not idle. Because sometimes we think, when I'm poor, then I'll serve Jesus. When I lose my job, then I'll serve Jesus. I think now God is calling me because I've lost my job. Now I think God is calling me because, no, it is at the peak of your career, when it is blossoming, it's even when you are succeeding, God will come inviting you for this journey. And you should show you prefer Jesus over every other thing. And we are not saying that you should leave your career, and that's not what I'm saying. But I'm saying that we should not think that these people were idle when he called them. Sometimes when we call them local ordinary fishermen, you know, we normally say that. We think that they were just novice. They were unlearned. They may not be like Pharisees, Sadducees, and scribes. But to be a Jewish child at this time, from childhood, you are being trained, went through the synagogue or the temple training. There were real clear training stages that by the time you get to this point, that you be a man of your own, you would have gone through proper, stable, occupational training, and you are ready to run on your own. So let us not look at them as if they were just not sure what they were doing. Verse 7 and 29.